Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, Fed Chair Powell on the Hill today, both of them saying we need more stimulus to keep the economy growing. Larry Kudlow joins us, National Economic Council Director. Larry, are we going to get a new stimulus package through Congress when it's all tied up with the Supreme Court debate?
Well, that's a tough question, Stuart, to be honest with you. Look, well before the Supreme Court issue, we were at loggerheads. I mean, our side has a very efficient, targeted assistance package at much, much lower cost. For example, stuff that we think is really necessary, getting kids back to school. We'd pay $105 billion for whatever COVID changes, desk changes, partitions, testing, masks, and so forth. We'd love to do that. We'd love to extend the small business loan package, the PPP package. Actually, there's money left over. It could be repurposed, but it requires legislation. So we had a bunch of targeted areas, and the Democrats had a gigantic package of $3 trillion, and we don't think that is necessary or even valuable. Now, look, I don't think this recovery, the V-shaped recovery we've talked about, relies on another assistance package. But what I am saying is we should press for these key targeted areas, for example, kids, small businesses, unemployment assistance for jobs. That would be helpful and would make our story even better.
I put it to you, Larry.
At the moment, I don't really think it's affected by the judicial story.
But it's
I
a
just
big
think
lift.
it's just stopped.
I mean, getting the Democrats to allow you to put more money into the economy to help the economy, getting the Democrats to agree to anything like that when you've got this extraordinary battle over the Supreme Court, that's a heavy lift, a very heavy lift, isn't it?
Well, I won't say they're disassociated entirely, but I will say, Stuart, you know, as it works legislatively, the assistance package is a different track from the judicial package. And just as the continuing resolution, where there is bipartisan agreement to get a clean bill and get it done through at least mid-December, that's a separate track also. So I know that conversations are still going on between Secretary Mnuchin, Speaker Pelosi, and other leaders, Chief Mark Meadows and so forth. We're all helping out as ideas come up. Those conversations are going on. There's no reason why we couldn't get an efficient, targeted package. No reason.
Except politics. I'm sorry about that, Larry, but, you know, that's the truth, except politics. Let's talk about the virus. I think it was a week ago you were on the show and you were talking about your concern that a second wave in Europe would wash over here, there'd be more restrictions coming here, and that's bad for the recovery. Well, they are putting in new restrictions over in Europe, and the number of cases is up in America. I put it to you that some Democrat-run states are very likely to impose new restrictions if the number of cases really does start to rise, and that would be really bad for our economy. What do you say?
Well, okay, there's a lot there. Let's unpack that. First of all, let me say President Trump in no way would support another shutdown of the country and the economy. In no way. He will completely oppose that. Now, you're right. Those are state gubernatorial decisions, but we will not support that. We have had targeted means. We're a lot smarter now. You know, Deborah Birx and the others on the science team know how to go in. A lot of this is college towns, by the way, and we can control that. Stu, I got to push back a little. The number of cases actually is way below the peak in July. And the number of fatalities is hugely below the peak.
Sure.
And the number of hospitalizations is hugely below the peak. We've had a very minor college issue, but we're in much, much better shape and much better control of it than we were last summer and certainly last winter. And America's economy is opening. Now, overseas, I will agree. I did mention it on your network. Britain's having trouble. I am co-chairing a series of meetings today with my British counterparts, UK, USA Economic Cooperation Council. They are taking measures. I think they'll be targeted measures, not a complete shutdown. France has had some trouble, Spain, the rest of the continent. So they're kind of getting the hotspot bump ups that we got last summer. I don't think it'll decimate the economies, but I do think it creates a lot of uncertainties, too. And I do think some of that uncertainty has certainly filtered into the stock market. There's no question about it. But let me reiterate, President Trump told me this yesterday. We were good session in the Oval. In no way, shape, or form will he support another economy-wide shutdown. Absolutely not. It's not necessary. We're in much better shape. And if there are issues, we can target them, absolutely target them, not get back to where we were last late winter and spring.
Larry, on the subject of the stock market, my young colleague, Susan Lee, has a question for you. Please take it.
Hi, Larry. I just wanted to ask you how you feel about investment banks preparing their clientele for a contested election and betting markets, saying that it might be a Democratic win.
Well, I don't know what they're all saying, Susan. You're probably closer to it than I am, although I am in touch. I know one or two people in that community. Look, I intend to vote for President Trump. I'm not sure that's really breaking news. And I also think President Trump is going to be the victor. Okay, I'm not sure that's breaking news either. But I will acknowledge that there are lots of disagreements about the outcome of the election. And I will also acknowledge, perhaps most importantly, Susan, that the policies of the two candidates are radically different. I mean, the Democrats have an extremist platform. A government takeover of health care, a $4 trillion tax hike, $6 trillion of spending, closing down fossil fuels, closing down, you saw in California, no more gasoline-powered engines in 10 or 15 years. That is extremist, left-wing stuff. President Trump, the polar opposite. He cut taxes, he lowered regulations, and will do more in his second term. You saw those numbers last week. Census Bureau, living standards, median family income soared in President Trump's first 3 years pre-pandemic. We had more in 3 years than the prior administration could produce in 8 years. That was a success, spread everywhere, right? Middle class, lower middle class, African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, women, small business, all did relatively better in income growth and wage growth than the upper end did. So those are successful policies. I don't want to change horses in midstream, and I think stock market investors feel the same way. So we'll discuss and debate the outcome in the next 40 days, you and me and Stu and everybody else in the world, Wall Street. But they ought to take a very hard look. You want lower tax rates and less regulatory burdens and a strong energy sector and free and fair trade that improves American exports and opens up markets. Don't change horses in midstream.
We got you. We got you. Larry Kudlow, always a pleasure. We'll see you again real soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.